A few years back, 2 million new anglers entered the sport of fishing. The very next year, guess how many new anglers exited the sport of fishing? That's right, 2 million new anglers. Now, the American Sports Fishing Association calls this mystery the leaky bucket. But for those of us who have been around for a while and have made it in fishing, it's really no mystery at all why beginners quit the sport. And today, we're going to solve that mystery together, and I'm going to tell you exactly why so many beginners fail at the sport of fishing. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to review the 5 major mistakes a lot of beginner fish-a-lots make out there that cause them to run right back to the return lines at Bass Pro Shop. And stick around for the last tip, because that last mistake's really going to be a doozy that will literally cost you your sanity. Now, the first huge mistake that beginners make out there is focusing on the honey holes, the secret spots, or spots that worked for you last week, last month, last year, whatever the case might be. So really what you should be focused on is 4 major things that every fish pretty much lives by. You want to know where that fish's comfort zone is and where they're going to find that comfortable area in the water. You're going to have to know where those fish find easy access to food. You have to know where they're going to find protection from their own predators. Finding food but becoming prey yourself really doesn't do you any good, right? And then of course you're going to have to figure out how water movement affects those 3 things, right? We could be talking about dams if you live on a reservoir or a river. You could be talking about tides, but most importantly for a lot of beginners fishing on ponds and lakes and things like that, you're really talking about the wind. I feel like that goes so overlooked because water movement really is the key for a lot of predatory fish to get in those comfort zones, to get in a nice ambush spot, and exert the least amount of energy to catch their prey. And you should be capitalizing on that to find your own spots when those weather conditions change, when the wind changes, when it gets super hot, when it gets super cold, whatever the case might be. That 90-10 zone you're going to hear about, where 90% of the fish are going to be in only 10% of the water, your success is finding that 10% of the water and using those 4 factors, the water movement, comfort zones, protection from predators, and easy access to food is exactly how you do that. Now, mistake number 2 here that's really going to cost fish-a-lots, both figuratively and literally, is falling for all the marketing crap out there that surrounds the fishing industry. And think about it, the more confused you get, the more frustrated you get, the more overwhelmed you get, the more crappy advice there is out there on YouTube or wherever else, the more likely you are to go to Bass Pro Shop and buy more stuff. But none of that stuff would actually help you catch fish if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to find your own spots, if you're not placing those lures in front of a fish. So don't fall for all the marketing traps out there. What you should really do, especially if you're starting out, is buy a couple of lures and make them search baits. Baits that you could cover, or lures I should say, that could cover a lot of water. One of the most versatile lures out there that you should really look into is just soft plastic baits. This way you could cast and you could cover a lot of water and you could actually learn where those fish are and where they're moving per weather conditions. A lot of lures like this that'll do you a ton of good are lures like chatter baits and spinner baits, especially if you're lake fishing. Okay, these are great search baits that really teach you how to reel in, how to locate fish, how to pause or retrieve, how to trigger bites, what subtle bites are going to feel like, what aggressive bites are going to feel like. That is the number 1 tip when it comes to lures. I'm going to give you a bonus tip right here too, by the way, talking about marketing. Do not fall into the color trap, okay? The color game, as some people call it, right? There's all sorts of random colors out there, sexy penny and sexy minnow, and that is exactly the marketing traps you need to avoid. Find your search baits and go with a couple of key colors, okay? You want to go with really dark colors, so when you have dark conditions out, like it's cloudy, sun's not really shining, you're in really cloudy water, those dark baits are going to be silhouetted for those fish, and those fish are going to be able to find them and eat them. You want to use some bright baits, some white or chartreuse baits. Baits are going to show up in similar water conditions, but you know, even at depth. If you get chartreuse or white at depth, you'd be amazed at how natural it looks to a fish. And of course, natural looking colors like translucent colors. So if it is really sunny out and you do have really clear water conditions, use translucent colors because that's going to look like the most natural baits for you. Those are really the only colors that you would need to get started and catch a ton of fish. And look, I get it, right? You're watching guys on YouTube or on TV or whatever. They got 18 rods down on the boat. They got a million different lures. They got 17 tackle boxes just for crankbaits. But look, here's the thing. If you have so many lures and everything, you're going to get yourself overwhelmed. You're going to spend more time out on the water second guessing yourself and overwhelming yourself than you are learning the actual keys to finding fish and triggering fish to hit your lures. And a huge mistake beginners make, number 3, is they just don't pay attention to what the fish are actually telling you and what nature is actually telling you. And that's going to sound a little silly at first, but stick with me here. A lot of times you're going to be out and the fish are going to give you certain signs. And to a lot of inexperienced fish-a-lots out there, they just miss the signs. But think about it. If you're reeling in your bait and you pause and you scratch your butt and a fish hits that, that's a hint. That fish is telling you that when you pause that retrieve, that's what the fish was looking for. A slower retrieve, a paused retrieve. You're looking for patterns on the day. Where are birds? Do you see any birds? Do you see life on the water? Do you hear fish on the surface of the water, right? Just, paying attention to your surroundings is just so key to fishing. Just put everything away, focus on the water, enjoy your time out on the water, and fish for a bite. That's what you're doing. You want to fish for that initial bite, and you want to take note of how you got that bite. Every time you hit a fish, you miss a fish, or you see something on the water, take note. Take note of what's going on around you and adapt your tactics to what the fish are telling you. And all right, so here's huge mistake number 4 a lot of beginner fish-a-lots out there will make, and that is going way too heavy with your gear. What I would recommend is go light. Yes, that's right. Go lighter with your gear. Remember, you're not fishing for a bass that's going to win you $2 million in Bassmaster Classic. You really want to be focused on fishing for a bite. And ultralight fishing is a great way to learn how to trigger bites from fish. You can catch crappie, bluegill, bass, catfish. I've caught it all with ultralight. And it's an incredibly fun way to fish that will really get you into the sport. And you're going to really learn how subtle bites feel, how aggressive bites feel. We go offshore fishing all the time and we're catching monsters. We're catching like man-eating fish out there. We typically use 80-pound monofilament to catch a lot of these fish. Now here's me fighting a grander. Okay, that's 1,000-pound blue marlin on 80-pound monofilament. And you say, well, how do you do that? How do you not break the fish off? How do you do this, that, and the other thing? It's just you're fishing for the bite. And all right, fish-a-lots, this is going to be mistake number 5. And this is probably the biggest one that beginners make out there that really push them out of the sport more than any of the other tips and literally cause them to lose their sanity sometimes. And that is just having clear and realistic expectations of your fishing. Like, look, I get it. Social media is around, YouTube's around, Facebook, whatever. Everybody's posting these pictures of these massive fish and they're telling you, oh, look at all the fish I catch. I'm an expert and all this kind of stuff. What they're not showing you is how much they struggled in other trips that they made. You can be the best fish-a-lot on the planet and you're going to struggle to catch fish from time to time. We all hit rough spots. We all get skunked. It just happens. And social media tends to make this a little difficult to stomach because all you see out there is, look at this big trophy fish. Look at this fish I caught. I catch fish all the time. Like, look, I'll never forget, I was on vacation with friends of mine and, we were taking a hike up to like a fort and they were arguing the whole time. They were just yelling at each other. They were miserable. I thought for sure, my buddy's wife was going to kick him off of the fort, off of the hill once we got up there. But what did she do? She whipped out her camera. She was like, all right, hubby, time to take a picture for Facebook. And they went, click, big smiles, and they couldn't be more miserable. And after they went, click, they went right back to arguing. But that picture got posted on Facebook saying, hey, look, I'm on vacation. We're having a great time. My life is wonderful, right? Like, don't be fooled by social media out there. Again, the best fish-a-lots on the planet struggle to catch fish, and we all have tough times sometimes. Now, the key to this is, if you are having a rough time, just, again, fish for a bite. Enjoy nature, enjoy yourself out there, and if you learn just one thing on each trip that you go on, that's a huge win that's putting you ahead of all your buddies out there, okay? If you go out and you fish and you get 1% better each and every time you go, you are going to be amazed at how consistent you're going to find your fishing as you move through those tough periods. This video will definitely help you catch a lot more fish and be a lot more consistent. But if you really want to work on your consistency and up your game to the next level, go ahead and click on this video right here where I show you exactly some of the tactics we discussed that can catch you a lot of fish and a lot of really big fish. So go out there, fish-a-lots, and I'll see you out there on the water.